Hi guys! In honour of Campus Cashy's summer school grad week, I thought I'd just make a quick vlog talking about my experiences of graduate life and sharing some of the tips and tricks I've learnt through making every mistake in the book and wishing that I'd known all of these things sooner. So I've been graduated now for 2 years. I graduated in June 2010 from the Liverpool Institute of Performing Arts. I studied acting, which has nothing to do with the career path that I'm following now, but that's okay, and that's one of the things that I'm going to talk to you about later on in this vlog. So the first thing I want to talk about is just the feeling after you graduate. And some of you might experience a little bit of loneliness, a bit of deflation. It's kind of like when you hear about people, brides especially, typically after the wedding feeling a little bit deflated and a little bit like, oh, the party's over. It's perfectly natural to feel that way. Remember that you've been living in a community with your friends solidly for 3 to 7 years if you're doing a PhD, and you know, you've known each other, you've called on each other, you've become very close, and then all of a sudden graduation comes along and everybody disperses, and some people are moving back in with their parents, some people are moving to different cities, even different countries, and it can feel very alienating, all of the big changes that you're going through and having all of this responsibility put on your shoulders, seemingly that you have to have everything figured out. Some tips to combat loneliness after graduation I would suggest are, if you can help it, don't live alone. If you want to live alone, that's great, that's fine if that works for you. But make sure that you really keep in touch with those friends that you had at university. It doesn't have to be speaking to them every day as you would have done while you were at uni, but once a week I found was really great for me. That was just the amount of contact that me and my friends liked and that worked for us. Just even a Facebook message every so often can make all the difference in the world. If you're having a bad day, just to hear from someone that you love and that has been there and done that with you, it can really help. Another thing I'd suggest are social clubs. It sounds daunting, and it can be if you're a shy person. I'm quite a shy person. I don't really like going to group exercise classes or, you know, learning a new skill with a group. It makes me feel a bit under pressure and very nervous, and I tend to overcompensate by making loads of jokes and feeling like I need to make everybody laugh, which sounds like a nightmare. But it is a great way to get you out and to get you doing things, to make you feel like you're not just sitting at home on your own watching TV in your pyjamas. If you can incorporate adding a new skill to your CV with that, that will stand you in such good stead. I know that I love to blog, but I'm not the best web designer, so I'd really like to go and take a class in Photoshop or in Illustrator and Dreamweaver just to kind of bump up my skills a little bit. I don't have the time or money to do that right now, but if I was in a position at graduation where I knew that I was going to be pursuing journalism and blogging as a career, I would have done that then in retrospect. Another great thing to do is volunteer. I volunteered with a magazine for a couple of months before I was officially interning and kind of writing pieces and helping out properly. You can volunteer everywhere. I mean, the traditional routes are like with the police force or hospitals or care homes and that sort of thing, and that's great and very noble and fantastic if that's what you choose to do. You can also volunteer at places like radio stations or theatres or within companies, just shadowing somebody while they work, if they're okay with that and if they're the sort of company that runs that sort of scheme. That experience can be invaluable, and sometimes that can lead you to a full-time position. You never know where a job is going to come from. And again, as with the group classes and stuff, it can just get you out of the house and make you feel less like you're kind of sitting around waiting for a job to happen. Sometimes the worst thing about job searches can be the wait. and the kind of, you know, biting your fingernails and tick-tock, watching the clock tick down, and you just need to get out of that headspace, get out of the house, go for a run, be around people, and just make sure that you are not focusing too much on getting a job and your financial situation, because these things will come. I'll get to it. Another tip I have is about where you choose to live after you graduate. Now, it's no secret that we're in the middle of a recession and a credit crunch, so not everybody is going to be graduating into a job. In fact, only the really lucky ones are going to be graduating into a job. So if you find yourself in a situation where you don't have a guaranteed source of income and you're worried about where you're going to live, move back in with your parents. You know, there's no shame in it. If that's an option for you and you have a good relationship with them, moving back in with your parents can take the pressure off. It can give you a gold mine of advice in your parents. It can give you emotional support that you wouldn't get elsewhere. It's a really great and very viable option for today's graduates. I didn't do it because when I finished my degree, was in Liverpool and my mum and dad live all the way over in Dubai. So home for me was very far away, and I just wanted some independence from that life in Dubai, and I didn't feel like it would be constructive for me personally to go back there. But I did eventually, after a year of trying to make it on my own, I went back to Dubai to kind of do an internship and refocus and regroup. There's no shame in it. There is nothing more encouraging than having a strong and healthy enough relationship with your parents that you can go back and be at home and be looking for a job and kind of wait until you find your feet to move out. If that isn't an option for you for whatever reason, then think about sharing, and think carefully about sharing. I moved out of dorms back into an apartment with someone that I had been at uni with, and that was great. For the first couple of months it was so much fun and just like being at uni, except that we had no money. And that kind of puts a different strain on your friendship. And this is what I want to really draw up, is whoever you choose to live with, if they're a friend from uni, just seriously think about if you have the kind of friendship where you can sit down and have a frank and honest conversation with each other about budget, about where your money's going to come from, about what is going to happen if anything goes wrong, if one of you can't make rent, about guarantors, about all of those things that will become niggling issues. Trust me, I've been there, and will become things that grind on you about each other if they're not addressed like before they arise. We moved in together and we didn't have jobs, and we got jobs, but our jobs were not jobs that we wanted to do. We worked in retail. We both particularly didn't like our jobs or our hours or what we were doing. We were on relatively low pay. We struggled making bills month after month after month, and it took its toll on our friendship. We're still great friends now, but living together it wasn't as enjoyable as it had been. And in retrospect, I wish I'd discussed some things with my friend at the very beginning of moving in together, before we got into these, you know, troublesome times and we had to have some awkward tiptoey conversations. We're both not very confrontational people, so bear that in mind if you aren't a confrontational person, that it might just be easier to just have everything out on the table when you move in with someone that you're close to, and just kind of foresee the problems before they arise. If you make the decision to live alone, again, absolutely fine, but just make sure you know exactly what your financial responsibility is going to be. I would say don't get tied into 12-month lets or year-long contracts or anything like that. I would advise grads to look for a 6-month lease, particularly if you don't have a job, because you might find that you get a job in the next city along. Like if, for example, you sign into a 6-month lease in Abu Dhabi and find that your job is in Dubai, it's not a very nice commute to be making every single day. And if you're tied into a year-long lease, you might be making that commute for, 11 to 10 to 9, whatever amount of time of months that you might be having to make that drive every single day. It really starts to grate on you, and that can affect your performance at work. So give yourself leeway, take the 6-month or a rolling contract so that you can be as flexible as possible to take job offers from wherever they come from. So that's my advice about living circumstances. I think budgeting as a graduate is a whole other issue, so I'm not going to touch on budgeting in this vlog. One thing I will say though is just don't feel like you have to have everything figured out right now as soon as you graduate. I wish someone had told me this when I graduated, and I think my parents probably did try and tell me this about 25 times after I graduated, but I was just so emotional and teary, and I wanted everything figured out, and I was so angry with myself that I didn't have a good job, and I was having to ask my parents for help, and it was just such a rough time, and I made it. I was the reason why it was a rough time. I was so hard on myself, and I think so many young people are. There's this idea that we have to have our career paths and our lives figured out by the time we reach 25, and it's just not an attainable goal anymore. It's not really the way that careers are working nowadays. I don't believe that there is a career path for everybody, and some people will just be more enterprising in the way that they approach their work. They're going to jump from job to job to job, or they might, discover that working freelance and being self-employed works for them. And that more and more nowadays is the sort of approach that people are taking to their working life. So don't worry, there will be a niche for you. You will find what your superpower is, and you need to take the time and to allow yourself to take the time to do that. And after graduation is one of the most crucial times that you can do that, because you've reached a big crossroads in your life, and not everybody needs to choose the path immediately when they reach a crossroads. Sometimes you just need to sit down and look at the map and just calm down. That was a convoluted metaphor. But what I found was that I rushed into everything. I rushed into where I was living, who I was living with, what job I wanted, and I hated the job that I took initially out of uni. I rushed into even simple things like an internet package and a TV package that I didn't need. I wish I'd shopped around a bit more and just thought sensibly about what I actually needed to live. And you don't need to stress on it. There's so much that happens between the point of graduation and being 24, 25 years old. I'm 24 now, and so much has happened since I was 22. Was I 22 when I graduated? So much has happened, and my career path has been like this. It hasn't been a straight line. It's been zigzags and veering off in one direction and then coming back around to another. And actually what helped me was the time that I stepped back and said, okay, I've taken a rubbish job that I hated, and it's really affected my self-confidence and my self-opinion, so I need to think about what I'm really doing and what I'm going to be putting my energy into, what's going to get me out of bed and get me excited to work, because I'm obviously the sort of person that needs to be excited to work. And that is kind of the most important advice I'd give to any people that are graduating as the class of 2012. It can be really disheartening when you see everywhere credit crunch, recession, there are no jobs, graduate employment at an all-time low, and all of this stuff. It can bombard you and it can make you feel really awful. But take the positive from that. If there are no jobs for anybody, you have time to decide what job you really want, what job you would give up anything for, and that is going to give you the edge over your competitors in your job search. Nobody wants to employ somebody who's only amicable or half interested or okay. No one wants average anymore. So you are going to have to work out what it is that makes you tick and what makes you stand out and shine from everybody else. And when you get that, just run with it. and that will put paid to hours of sleepless nights and working and stressing out over not having a job. Believe me, all you need to do is really focus on, okay, what are my skills? What are my interests? How can I combine the two and make it into something that pays money? And when you have that secret formula that applies only to you, you'll have a direction and you'll have a sense of purpose, and you'll also have the passion and the fire under you to really ignite your job search, and that is going to make everything so much easier for you. So please give yourself the breathing space and the time to work that out and to get comfortable with where you're steering your life. And that's really the best advice I can give you, is be gracious and kind to yourself during this period, because it is an amazing period of your life and you probably won't realise it until like 3 years down the line. But these are kind of the foundation bricks that you're laying down for years and years and years of other bricks that are going to build up the house of your life. It's a great learning curve. It's a steep one and it can be a scary one, but it is fantastic for your development, for your self-confidence, for your self-opinion. Not everybody does what they studied at uni, not everyone follows that discipline. Sometimes what you do at university will have absolutely nothing to do with what you end up doing later on in life, and that's all okay. Just take the time now to really focus on yourself and your mantra or your philosophy or how you're going to approach your life, and just remember, you're only young. You're only at the beginning, you're only just getting started, so you have plenty of time to work out everything you need to know and to get where you want to be. You're where you need to be right now. You're at the crossroads. Just take the time to figure out which path you're going to take. And the best of luck. Congratulations, class of 2012, class of 2011, my fellow class of 2010, for making it this far and for graduating and getting your degree. Now just breathe, make a mind map, whatever works for you. Keep a diary, make a vlog, talk back to us, and just figure out what it is that is going to make you run and going to make you drive yourself and going to make you take control. All the best. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up, or you can leave a comment in the post comment section below. Please sign up to Campus Cashy. My name is Tamira Hammam. I'm a member. You can send me a message anytime you like. You can reply on YouTube as well on our channel, and just get a conversation going if you'd like to. But I really hope this has been useful. I hope you've enjoyed it. Best of luck, and try not to worry too much. See ya.